Individuals who are inadmissible, they are not permitted by law to enter into the US, or they cannot be given green cards to remain in the US if they are already in the United States. So a person could be inadmissible based on several grounds, including inadmissibility based on criminal reasons or based on misrepresentation or fraud. The inadmissibility could also be due to prior removals and or the individual's accrual of unlawful presence in the United States. So for certain grounds of inadmissibility, it may be possible for a person to obtain a waiver of that inadmissibility. A waiver means a forgiveness. Now, one very common ground of inadmissibility is misrepresentation or fraud. So if you apply for an immigrant visa or a green card, you may be ineligible for that immigrant visa or green card if you have fraud or misrepresentation on your record. And again, this fraud does not include marriage fraud. So it's fraud, regular fraud, right? So you may be able to apply for a waiver, for example, if you have been found to have immigration fraud on your record, and that waiver will forgive that inadmissibility. Now, what the waiver does is that if you're in the US, then if you have the 601 waiver based on fraud approved, then you can get a green card once US immigration forgives the fraud. If you're outside the US, with that approved 601 waiver, then you will be able to get an immigrant visa from a US embassy in your country. In order to apply for a waiver due to misrepresentation or fraud, you need to have a qualifying relative who is a spouse or a parent, US citizen or lawful permanent resident, that's a green card holder, and you must show that that person will suffer extreme hardship if you are deported. So if we are filing waivers, what we usually do is that we discuss both relocation and separation. And so if your spouse, for example, you are deported and you have to, be in your country and your spouse has to relocate to join you, what is the hardship? And if you are deported and your spouse stays, which is a separation, how will this hardship play out? Okay, so extreme hardship, the government is, asking for you to show how qualifying family members, spouse and parents in the case of misrepresentation or fraud, how they would suffer more than what could be expected of a deportation. Because in any deportation case, there is family separation, there is some difficulty, but the standard to meet for a waiver application is usually extreme hardship. For waiver applications. Now, USCIS, through policy guidance and case law, they have identified 5 broad hardship factors or categories that could support a finding of hardship. So number 1, we discuss family ties and impact, right? So how many children do you have in the US? You have grandparents, or your entire family tree is in the US. Number 2, we look at the social and cultural impact. Then 3, we look at the economic impact of your deportation. We look at health conditions and care as part of these, as part of the considerations. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, but it's usually a helpful framework for organizing our hardship cases. And these factors, as we discussed, for example, health, could be present in a relocation or separation scenario, or both, right? So if you are deported and your family member has to be separated in a separation scenario, perhaps you are the one taking her to all her medical appointments, and she'll face extreme hardship because maybe she is paralyzed and is unable to drive. Now, if she has to be relocated with you, right, she has to leave the US and go to your home country, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, with you, then are the medical conditions in that country sufficient to be able to support her through her recovery journey, or just to be able to help her live through whatever condition that she has? So we discuss all those factors. If you have been issued with a misrepresentation or fraud finding by US immigration, it's not the end of the world. We can actually help you apply for a waiver. We can review your eligibility for a waiver. So contact us 802-780-0564. Speak to you soon.